Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Pathway Unscripted Conversations on Mind, Body, Spirit, and Entrepreneurship, a brand new video series where we dive deep into the holistic integration of life and business. I am Tammy Coyne, your holistic alchemist, helping you change pain into possibilities and possibilities into purpose. And today's chat is with Georgia Ryle. And Georgia is a transformational life coach, a hypnotherapist. She tends to help ladies over 35 to crush those extra pounds, boost their confidence, and love themselves more. She guides them from self-doubt to self-care, empowering them to prioritize themselves with love and understanding. Wow, we all need that. Her greatest desire is to share her intuitive healing and coaching abilities to help her clients realize their greatest potential in their lives, health, relationships, and business. She helps you shift your perception and mindset to see a better perspective of your life by filling you with self-love and confidence and freeing you of self-doubt, pain, and fear. You will leave with a smile on your face, knowing something has shifted and changed. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope you enjoy today's conversation. Well, Georgia, so great to see you. I feel like it's been forever. We met, as with I do so many people, online. So tell me, how are you? How are things?
Doing great, Tammy, doing great. And it's great to see you. It has been too long.
So long, and I was saying this to somebody the other day. I spent so much of my life growing up where I didn't necessarily hang around with a lot of people. I never really felt like um, I usually had like one friend. I was not a crowd friend girl. And it wasn't until I got online, I started meeting these amazing people. I'm like, who knew my friends were like all over the world? I had no idea.
And that's what I
So,
love about being online is they're all over the world.
isn't that crazy? Now, I'm back in Arizona. So,
I'm in Mississippi.
in Mississippi. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this has been so much fun. I'm having chats with people all over the United States, and then I've got a few chats coming from Canada, and I think I've got one in South Africa.
Oh,
So
wow.
so we're international chatting. I love this so much. So, are you primarily working? I love that you're a transformational coach and a hypnotherapist. I am as well. And are you primarily working with? It sounded like you're primarily working with like nutrition, maybe, and weight, or
Well, I'm not working with nutrition because the
okay.
way I approach weight loss is not from the food and exercise, or I like to say movement of your body, not exercise. That sounds too harsh.
Yeah.
Um, I work more with the mindset.
Mm,
What is caused? I want to get to the root problem. What is
yeah.
the root cause of your weight gain or holding on to the weight? Because
Right.
how many diets have you been on? I know how many diets I've been on. Well,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I can tell you that how many I've been on. I've tried everything, but we always lose the weight. We'll start on something. It's great. It's great. It's great. And then something happens. An event happens, and we get off of our routine because we were in a routine, um, or we get sick, or we get hurt, and we have to change what we're doing, and we get off of it. And then what do? We inevitably go back to our habit, our comfort
Hmm.
zone. Correct.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is. Um, so we have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. Our conscious mind, it's the one that thinks it makes all the decisions,
Yep.
and it sees what we do, hears what we do, all that kind of stuff. But that's like 10% of us. Well, the other 90% is down here. I
Yeah.
won't say literally down here, but it's your body.
Yeah.
It's where everything is stored. Everything you ever said, everything ever said to you, every experience you ever had. It's here, and think of this as your library. It's in your cells, it's in your DNA, it's in everything.
100%.
And so the unconscious mind likes to protect us, keep us safe.
Mhm.
And so, what's safer than having an extra layer of fat on our body, especially if we feel threatened by somebody looking at us and complimenting us, or looking at us and making a comment, or um, it's a lot of emotions there.
So many. Yeah, I've
And
often said that I see our bodies like memory foam mattresses, and even if we don't remember, our body does, and
yes,
it really takes the hit. And we have a similar approach with how we see things and how we do things, and I think that's what's wonderful about holistic healing and holistic modalities and people on a holistic path, because they have gotten to a place, I find, where it's like I'm not finding what I need out there.
yeah,
Like I don't want to be on a diet anymore. Like I don't want to do that, or I don't want to go the route of some sort of medication or whatever. I'm looking for another solution, and I love the fact that with so many holistic practitioners out there, and if people are not used to the holistic world, they don't even really know where to start. And we all have such unique ways of working with people. I think
yes,
the benefit is really, and one of the reasons I wanted to do these conversations was to give someone the idea of, wow, I really like how that person said that, or I really like just the energy I feel from that person. I wonder if that's the person who can help me. Because to try to look for somebody online, let's say, it's not like the old days where you had a phone book, right? And you just
right.
flip through the phone book. I mean, but the internet's kind of that
Sometimes
same
I kind of
way.
miss those days, but
Yeah, you're right. Well, and the internet's kind of that way because you can just get lost. There's so much information, and you're like, who
overload.
do I know? Who's the right person to go to? And I did a video recently about betrayal on the path, and it's so important for people to be able to connect with someone and be able to discern for themselves. Yes, this is a person I feel safe with, I feel connected with, because as women, there's some real vulnerabilities,
Yeah,
right, around our bodies and around weight. And to be able to talk with someone that we feel we can share those vulnerabilities with, and they can actually help us walk through. So I
yeah.
love everything that you're saying there. I think that's great. So tell me more.
Well, I really have two programs to go for that, and one of them I just did is the hypnosis route, and oh, it was so amazing because I did 4 sessions, and I've heard I probably need to do more, but this was just like a taste of the
Mhm.
hypnosis. And the first one we did the traditional, let's set our goals and our date that we want to meet this goal, and we went through that. And then the second one was self love.
Mhm.
And that one was absolutely amazing. It had such amazing results because, um, sometimes we eat because we're punishing ourselves.
Yep.
Sometimes we're eating because we're bored, we're tired, we're sleepy, we're avoiding something. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Um, so there's lots of reasons we eat, and probably 90% of them have nothing to do with being hungry,
Yeah.
nutritional needs. And so a lot of it has to do with, especially when we're punishing ourselves, is self-love.
Hmm.
And so in this self-love, part of that is going into what I call the secret garden. And the secret garden opened up so many doors for the people that I worked with. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. And I gave them a way to go back and revisit that garden so they could watch it grow and create this beautiful, beautiful garden. And then the third one I did was loving your body with movement, and
Hmm.
the fourth one I did was self care.
Yeah.
Because how many times are we so busy taking care of other people, we forget to take care of ourselves?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was instilling in that was self care. The other program I do is really going deep to get to the root cause
Hmm.
of the problem.
Yeah.
Um, I don't mean I go into content. So if you've had a very traumatic childhood or an adulthood, we don't go into content. We deal with those emotions that we're hanging on to.
Yeah.
And so we do some forgiveness work. We do some healing work. Um, it's just it's so phenomenal the way it clears. Now, does that mean you're 100% never to come back? No, because we're like onions, right? We've got to be peeled. There's
Absolutely.
always layers.
Yeah.
Um, every level, there's another devil. I know what they say, but we start off at the beginning.
Hmm.
And when you start, if you think of emotions like little pearls, so every time you have an event of, let's just say anger, you get a pearl on this string. And some of those pearls are just ordinary pearls, but some of them are really, really a significant event happened right there. Well, that first one was probably a significant event. The second, third, or fourth one may not have been, but that fourth one may have been, or fifth one may have been, so we want to start here at the end, at the very beginning, and loosen that sucker up. Get it, pull it out by the roots.
Yep.
And that's going to start loosening the rest of them up. So, like I said, our unconscious mind keeps us safe by keeping all these emotions stuck
Hmm.
because we're not ready to deal with all. Just think if everything came up at one time. That would be the most horrible thing that would ever happen. You probably would go crazy with all those emotions coming up.
For sure. This is exactly, yeah, exactly what I talk about and what I do in the very thing. There's a significant trauma, abuse, and loss history in my world, and my own journey is the largest part. I mean, there's all this education I've done too,
Right.
but it really is the largest part of what I've combined with everything else to
Yeah.
be able to help people get to the other side of it. I was someone who, with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and to get to the other side of that, and part of my work is about showing people that it's actually possible, because so often when
Yes.
we get caught up in our own stories, in our own journeys, right, we often cannot see anything outside of that because we've only been shown on a particular path that we're walking. There's only this one way to go, and we don't even know there are these other doors, these other possibilities to
Yes.
go through. I love your pearl analogy. I use a splinter analogy, and what I share on mine is an unhealed emotion is like a splinter. And I say, you know how you get one maybe in your finger, and at first you don't really notice it. It's just, and maybe over time, maybe it starts to itch a little bit, and it's just a little bit, kind of a little something. It's kind of getting your attention a little bit, but maybe you don't notice it. And then maybe it gets a little bit sore to the touch, right? And
Right.
then maybe it like gets swollen and gets infected. And then maybe, worst case scenario, you need to lose a finger, right? Because it has become emergent at that point. And I think that's the beautiful part about holistic healing is we do so much education, but also just um, I love that you're doing this, and I see this with others too. We all have our own analogies. We all
Right.
have metaphors that we use, and it may be just the right metaphor that someone needs, that the light bulb goes off for them, and they're like,
Yeah.
that's what I've been trying to say, but I didn't know how to say it."
And the good part about it is, though, and I know this is you also,
Yeah.
we've all experienced trauma, but we don't go into that. We don't go
Mhm.
into the content. We stick with the emotions. We stay
Yeah.
up here because that's what we're holding on to.
Yeah.
It's our perception of that. You know, you can choose to be a victim, but you can't choose to be victimized.
Hmm.
You're going to be, that's just something that's going to be an experience for some people. But
Yeah.
you can choose whether you're a victim or not. We
Hmm.
want to take people out of victimhood and make them victors of their
Yeah.
circumstances, right? We
Absolutely.
want to change their perception, release those emotions, and make them a victor in their life. And that's the amazing thing that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, have did your did your own relationship with food or with weight, is that sort of what got you interested in working with this particular subject? How did that come about for you?
It's kind of evolved over the years. About 20 years ago, I found out I had hypothyroidism. Um, Probably have had it most of my life because I started having issues with my cycle and things when I was 16. And every time I'd have people check my thyroid, don't ask me why. I knew at a young age that was my thyroid, but I never could prove it.
Right.
And I would go to my traditional doctors and have labs, and all they do is check your TSH. Well, my TSH was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So finally at 40, I went to my doctor. I said, look, here's a list of tests I want you to run. He said, you do realize your insurance won't pay for it. I said, I don't give a damn. I got to find out what's going on with me now. I'm sick of
Yeah.
this. So it was like $400 worth of, now we're talking 20 years ago. So you can
Yeah.
imagine what it would cost today.
I do know what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I found out my thyroid was barely functioning. So I had hypothyroidism, and I was due to have a surgery, a laparoscopic surgery, like within the week. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I went to that doctor to do my pre labs or whatever,
Yeah.
I said, okay, I just found out this. Do I take this medicine or do I not? He said, oh yeah, start today. Because I was like, well, is it going to interfere with what he's got to do? You know,
Yeah.
he's like, no, 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 get started today. Well, fast forward 10 years from there, um, I was doing the things I was supposed to be doing, or at least I thought I was. And, but I was gaining weight and it was all in my belly. I had no energy. My lower back was killing me. My feet felt like there was a knife cutting my ankle in half, my heel in half.
Yeah.
Um, I would get up in the morning, do some exercise, and sit down in the chair and forget it. I was done for the day, just that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I have got to do, there's got to be something else that I can do. So I talked to my sister, and she recommended this nurse practitioner, a functional nurse practitioner versus a traditional one.
Yeah.
And so when I went to her, she ran tests and found out I had Hashimoto's. Well, Hashimoto's is where you have antibodies attacking your receptor sites. So it doesn't matter what your body is producing, it can't receive what it needs because it's like there's a block. It's
Yeah.
like boom, 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 boom. We're not letting you get what you need because you're bad. There's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so she got me eating better. We found out I was gluten sensitive, so I removed that for a while. She got me on not only the good food, but she put me on some really good supplements and a protein shake to see what we could heal.
Yeah.
Well, I healed the Hashimoto's, and my doctor said, no way. I did that in 4 months. And I went back to my doctor, and he's like, there's no way you did that. I said, well, here's my before, here's my after labs.
Mm-hmm.
And his jaw hit the floor. He says, I've got to learn more about this. I said, and this was done without shots, without pills. This was done with food and nutrition.
Yeah.
Um, and so now since then, my weight's gone up and down, but the Hashimoto's has not come back. I have been able
Wonderful.
to keep that in tow, but it made me realize the value of good nutrition.
Yeah.
And I don't mean processed foods or fast foods. I mean real whole foods. Whether you eat them plain, broiled, roasted, don't fry them, uh, sear them. How about that? Sear them, grill them, whatever. And lots of seasonings. Don't be afraid of seasonings. And when you still stick with what your body recognizes, it is so much easier for your body to use the nutrients in the food. It's when you give your body stuff it doesn't recognize. When you start adding all these chemicals and preservatives, your body has no idea what that is, so it doesn't know what to do with it. So what does it do? It stores it in your
Yeah.
fat cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not getting the nutrition, and it starts blocking the nutrition from being absorbed by your body. So fast forward, I kind of got out of the nutrition field for a while and just got into life coaching. Well, now I'm being drawn back into the nutritional field or into the health coaching field, but not in the traditional way.
Yeah.
I want to get to that root of why are we treating ourselves this way?
Mm-hmm.
If we loved ourselves, loved our body, and we believed in self-care, we would be taking care of our body. So let's go to find out why we haven't stepped into that yet.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm focusing on the emotional side of it versus the food and nutrition. You can get food and nutrition online all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go for the root cause.
Yeah. Well, I love it so much. And, you're in Mississippi and, I'm from Oklahoma. So a lot of times when you're from, kind of
The South,
backgrounds like we have, I like to say that, in Oklahoma, it's breaded, fried, and covered in gravy, right? So,
Ruth, it is this way.
I remember when I was married to husband number two, and I like to say that because, when you have a history like mine, sometimes you pick lots of relationships. That's a story for another time. But he said to me one day, I'd made some food and he goes, so it's like starch on starch on starch. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, there's mashed potatoes and gravy and corn and rolls. And like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. You're speaking a foreign language. I have gone through all kinds of things with weight because all of the unhealed trauma that I had going on started eventually causing my body to shut down.
Mhm.
And I started just getting one diagnosis after another. And then I became pregnant at 17, gained 83 pounds with my pregnancy, which started a roller coaster with weight, all these
Yeah.
different things and diet after diet, and I really didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about mindset. I didn't know anything about any of this. And around 2003, I was finishing my bachelor's degree, and I had started getting all these diagnoses where I used to keep a spreadsheet of all the next
Oh,
diagnoses that would
wow.
come.
Yeah.
And I began doing research on the mind body connection. That's how I really got interested in, okay, what's
Yeah.
going on, and started to get at least a little inkling of what was happening in my body. I still didn't really understand, still didn't really know, but that sort of started it. And then and I'd gain weight and I'd lose weight. And then finally in 2002, I was a very heavy smoker. I smoked like 2.5 packs a day, Marlboro Reds, so was not lightweight. I was hardcore. And I was diagnosed with
You
emphysema.
wear the cowboy hat too with your
I did. I collected my miles. I did. I was hardcore and I was not interested in giving up my cigarette habit. But again, that was a coping skill that I had dealing with all of my early life, right?
Yeah.
And my adult life. Then let's see, I was diagnosed with emphysema, which meant I had to quit smoking. I no longer had a choice. I was 38 years old and was told I wasn't going to see 50. And I was like, well, my kids have already lost their dad. That's not acceptable for me. So when I quit smoking, it put me into another spin and I gained 100 pounds within
Wow.
less than a year. And fast forward, then my body began shutting down. And in 2006, I was really faced with the option of gastric bypass or die. Like that was where I was at. It's like
Yeah.
every time I turned around, I was getting another, you're going to die,
Wow.
kind of thing. So in 2006, I went through gastric bypass and lost 150 pounds. Well, I like to say if you lose weight, you're going to need to go find it again, right? Because you
Right.
haven't yet learned how to release it.
Release it.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that then. So then I did pretty well, and then weight started creeping up again, and then let's see, in 2016, I graduated as a mind body wellness practitioner. And part of that training was as a holistic nutrition specialist, where I started to learn about intuitive eating. And I started learning these more about nutrition, more about food than I'd ever known in my life.
Yeah.
Then I ended up in Hollow Body through Mind Valley. So I learned some more, and I still have challenges with cooking for myself. So that's another area of healing that I have. But I've learned how to feed my body good, nourishing food. And I did a period of, I started yoga teacher training last year,
Yeah.
and did some intermittent fasting for a little bit. That was brand new to me. I was someone who was like, fasting? I'm not gonna fast. Like, what do you mean take away food? I've already got so many challenges with food. What do you mean? And it turned out to be something that was amazing. So I am now at my last, let's see, I'm probably at my last about 34 pounds that needs to be released. And I'm
Amazing.
at that point now where I know that now it actually is released, because when I eat and when I make choices, they are choices that are in support of me. They are in support of self-care, of
Yeah.
self-love, and it no longer feels like deprivation or that I'm being forced to do anything. It's actually choices, but it took a lot of work
Right.
on even understanding what in the world self-care and self-love means.
And isn't it amazing how you just said the magic word perception?
Yeah.
I remember when she first told me I had to give up certain foods. And my first thought was, I can't have. She said, first of all, you got to add new vegetables. I'm like, well, this is my vegetables. I had like 5 vegetables I ate. What were they? Potatoes, peas, green beans, carrots, lettuce. Um, that was about it. That's about the extent of my vegetables. And when she said, no, you need to expand and eat all these other vegetables, I'm like, oh, no. And I was like, but can't I have this and this and this and this? And she's like, do you want to get well or do you want to stay where you are? I mean,
Yeah,
that's your choice. And
choice.
so finally, it hit me. Georgia, it's a perception. You have narrowed your world to this little box. It's about this big. Look
Hmm.
at all the choices. When you go to the grocery store, look at all the choices you have here. You could explore something different every time you went to the grocery store. I
Yeah.
said, you have kept your world very small. It's time to grow. And when I did that, it made just changing my thoughts from, oh, this is all I'll ever need to, oh, I get to try all this. That
100%.
makes such a big difference. It's just the knowing that it wasn't that she was taking these things away from me. She was inviting me to explore so much more,
Well, a
make
hundred
better
percent.
choices.
100%. And I've talked to people with addictions before that are beyond food, people with alcohol addictions or cigarettes or drugs or whatever. And one, in my opinion, one of the most detrimental things we can do for people is take away the one thing that is actually bringing them comfort, because you take that away, they're going to go find something else that replaces that. So instead, the root cause is what actually helps them be ready to release the thing, because the perception and understanding that you are more valuable than what you've been shown. You
Yeah.
are more valuable than what you've ever known. And the signature program, if you will, of mine is called Unboxing Your Authentic Self. And to me, it's what that is, because boxes can be literal, like I've moved over 100 times in my life. Well, there's a lot of yourself that's packed up in these
Yeah.
boxes, but we've also packed up our choices. We've packed up our possibilities. We've packed up our dreams. We've packed up all the parts of us that actually make life worth living, right? And when we realize, oh, wow, like I'm in control here. I get to choose. And how do I want to, what kinds of choices do I want to make for me? You know, that's that's so it's like that old I don't know if it's a joke or whatever, but it's kind of like recognizing that you're in jail, and but you've been wearing the key around your neck or whatever, like you can free yourself. But sometimes I think where people get stuck again is they may have an idea that that's possible, but yet everything that they try gives them the feeling that they're crazy, gives them the feeling that, oh, well, you've got this diagnosis or you've got this addiction or whatever. That's, lights out, your life
Right.
is over. But it's for those who go, you know, I don't think I'm going to buy into that. I don't think I'm going to believe that, and I'm going to keep looking. And that's another reason why I revamped the YouTube channel and started just coming up with whatever videos I could come up with, and thought, well, let me see who else wants to come on here and have a conversation, because you never know when something that we're talking about may be just the thing that opens a whole new world for somebody who's watching. See, and I feel teary now because you and I both have been in that space of thinking, why isn't someone helping me? Why can't I find the answer? And I'm
Yeah.
trying to advocate for myself, but nobody is listening.
Right.
And
Right.
to me, that's the greatest thing, is to be working with someone and watch the light just come on in their eyes, because all of a sudden they see what's possible.
And you just reminded me of something too when you were talking about the addictions and the illnesses and all that. Our language is very important also, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Don't say I'm an alcoholic, say I have alcoholism. Don't say I am well, let's see, how would I say that? I am a diabetic. I have diabetes. You are not your illness, you are not your addiction.
Hmm.
That is something separate from you. And when you say I am, you're owning it, you become it, versus I have. That gives you more control, right?
Or I'm experiencing.
Or I'm
Yes,
experiencing, right?
yes,
Because it gives you your power back.
yes,
And
it
that's
does.
we are so quick to give our power away, especially women. We are so quick to give that power, and we don't even realize it most of the time, right,
We
Tammy?
don't, we don't. For sure. I started in mindfulness meditation. I was in a class. It was back in 2011. It was very new to me. I was still trying to learn things. And I remember sitting there, and this woman kept saying, my depression, my depression, my depression. And hadn't yet clued into how powerful our words were at that point. And I said, I'm confused. I said, you talk about depression like it's your pet, so it's like, well, here's me and my depression, going. And I'm like, and she's like, I wonder why I do that. And I said, I'm not sure, but it seems like it'd be awfully hard to get rid of if, you've claimed it, as part of your identity. You just put it on like it's your coat and you're out like that's really, really hard. And one of the things I've talked to people, and these are some little quotes, I don't know what you call them, quips, I don't know, but um your words are like, they're either like prayers or they're like spells. You can use whatever terminology you want, but what do you want to cast over your life? And so these words that we speak are speaking it into existence.
Yeah.
So being really, really mindful of the way that you speak, that's one of the things I teach people to do, is I just listen to the words that they say about themselves or about other things. And it's one of those blocks that's keeping them from moving forward, and they don't even know what's happening. They're
Yeah.
just, I liken that to like, well, you can talk in the psychology world, neural pathways. I liken it to being stuck in the mud, and or in the snow, and
Mhm.
your wheels are just spinning and spinning and spinning. Well, you can't get to a new way of thinking if you're still spinning in the old rut, right? It's like you've got to have a board, you get under that tire, so you get the tire up out of the rut, right? So you can get going again. And that's part of learning how to shift the way that you're speaking about yourself, to yourself, about your life, it all goes together.
Yeah.
And it's like mind blowing for people. And what a gift. What a gift to be able to give to other people that are really, really seeking and feeling pretty lost and alone on their journeys, you know? Love
Just,
that.
just sometimes giving people an awareness,
Yeah.
it's like it opens a whole new door.
Hmm. It sure does. And I think that validation sometimes for people that goes, okay, so I'm not crazy. Like there really is another way. There really is someone out there that understands what I'm going through,
Yeah.
you know? Because, man, I tell you, when you're in a lot of pain, whatever that looks like, it can feel like there is no one else. And how many billions of people are on the planet now? But it can feel like there is nobody else in the whole world who is going through what you're going through. And man, and a lot of people in their life because of feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I just, to me, those of us who have been on healing journeys, who have gotten to the other side, I see us all as lighthouses. And even the lighthouses have trouble, right? Because they're looking, and it seems so dark because they forget they're the one out here shining the light. So my idea too was having people and having conversations. Then you get to see other lights, and you're like, okay, because we're still on a human journey too, right? And
Right.
even with everything we know, sometimes we can feel like we're alone on the journey. How many times have you thought on your journey, wow, with everything I've learned, I really needed me for me. I needed somebody like me to help me, you know? and and that's where this is beautiful too, because you
Yeah.
get introduced to other people that aren't in maybe your local community. Maybe they're somewhere else in the world,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the exact person that can help you with your next step. It's amazing.
I love that.
It's
I love
amazing.
that. That is one thing I love about this online world because I have met so many amazing people.
Yeah.
And, if it hadn't been for the things you and I have experienced and the classes that we've gone through, we would not have met nearly as many people
No.
and grown because of the experiences we've had.
Yeah.
And that's part of life's journey too, is growing and learning and changing and getting better and better every day.
Well, it sure is. And the first time I heard the phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I thought, wow, so there was a lot of work I needed to do on my own to be ready for the next step, for the
Yeah.
teacher that I needed to appear. And, what I've seen is teachers take on all kinds of forms. Sometimes teacher is a stranger that I met, on the street somewhere. Sometimes a teacher is a child. Sometimes it's an animal. Sometimes it's a weather pattern. Sometimes it's a song. Sometimes it's a coach. Sometimes it's a hypnotherapist. Sometimes it's a doctor. Sometimes it's a massage therapist. And I look at this whole game, this whole life experience game is like one big puzzle or one big video game, and you're
Yeah.
just going along looking to try to find someone that's got your next piece of the puzzle. It's like, do you have what I need to unlock the next level? you know it's a, it's a crazy world. And for people to be able to know that, how do I make this life experience into an adventure?
Yes.
How can I bring the fun back into it? How can I bring, I used to go to the grocery store when I still did. Another story, but anyway. Um, and when I started learning that I could create my own reality, and I would just put little earbuds in and turn on some really peaceful music. And I could walk into a grocery store that was full of chaos and just glide through the store, just happy as I could be. Now, I might have looked like a crazy person, but I didn't care because I had found a way to make my inside peaceful no matter what was going on the outside.
Yeah.
And that, when you can turn every little thing in your life into an adventure, well, all of a sudden, it brings back a lot of childhood magic that some of us didn't have, you know,
Or forgot.
or forgot. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's like we try to go on vacation at least once a year, and it's usually like anywhere from 10 to 15 of us going.
Oh,
And
wow.
people go, how can that many people go and you have a good time? I said, because we always set the intention. We're going, we're having a good time, we're having an adventure, and it doesn't matter what mood anybody's in, it's going to be fun. And when you set the intention,
Hmm.
no matter what it is, you set the intention you were going to be peaceful no matter what the chaos was around you.
Yeah,
When you set that intention and you hold on to it, your world is magical.
it
Your
really
world is
is.
fun. Your world can be whatever you want it to be at that point.
Well, it really is. And once you realize how many, that you have permission to make choices and to do these different things, from that point, you also start to make choices that start to clear the chaos out of
Yeah,
your life, that start to clear the not so fun things out of your life. And as I've said to people, this doesn't mean storms don't come. Storms will always come. You just become better equipped to handle them. And it doesn't, every time the wind blows, doesn't wreck your whole life, which
yeah,
I spent a lot of my life feeling that way, and you actually learn to um, be prepared for whatever comes because you've learned to shift your thinking
yeah.
about everything.
Well, and two, um, when you are, let's say you set goals,
Hmm.
whether it's just to have a good time, to be peaceful feeling, whatever it is, as long as you're facing toward what you want
Hmm.
and not away from what you don't want. I don't want to get mixed up in the chaos versus I want to feel peaceful. When you're facing toward, I don't want to get in the chaos, I don't want to be part of the chaos, you're in the middle of it. You cannot get out of it no matter how hard you try. But
Hmm.
if you say instead, I want to be peaceful, I want to feel peaceful, I want to be calm, I want to feel good, you're facing toward what you want. And oh my gosh, that makes all the difference because what is it, the saying? What you focus on, you give energy to.
Hmm.
And so if you're focusing on chaos, well, guess what you're giving energy to? It
Yeah.
ain't that peace you want.
That's
So,
100%. And people get so focused because I lived for years like this. They get
me
so
too.
focused on the problems
Hmm.
or so focused on the obstacles that they can't see. The other thing, the last part, I've got 4 parts of what I work with people on, and the last
Hmm.
part's manifest. Well, it's become kind of a buzzword, and people, what I really think is important for people to know is part of the way that you manifest is you start walking toward it. It's like I said, if you were to win the lottery, you don't go, well, I won the lottery. Woohoo. No, you start, whoa, I won the lottery, right? There's some enthusiasm, there's some excitement. Let's say you want to go on a vacation. Well, what do? You start dreaming about the vacation. You get online, you start looking for hotels, you start looking for Airbnbs, you start looking for activities. You are creating the momentum to get you there. But if you're someone who says, Well, I'd really like to lose weight. Well, let me go over here and have a whatever. And you just completely lose sight of it. How do you get excited about what you want to do? So instead of the losing weight, how do you want to feel? What does that losing weight do for you? What does that give you? Does it give you back the ability to do something? Do you feel excited about the possibility of rolling around in the floor or dancing? Like I do a dance party every week with my grandson. Does it, the idea of, hey, I really want to feel sexy when I put on a certain outfit, or man, I just want to look at myself in the mirror and say, you're looking pretty good, girl. Whatever it is, focus on that feeling that you want, that thing that lights you up instead of like, oh God, I'm gonna have to drink another damn green juice, right?
Right.
Yeah. The first time I had a green juice, I'm like, what is this crap? I cannot, like, if I had not realized you get past that and it actually, your body actually enjoys it and it actually tastes good. But man, it felt like I was punishing myself every
Yeah.
time, every
I know,
time.
I did that. I was doing they called it an alkagizer. It was spinach or green, like spinach or kale, something like that. Celery, avocado, and something besides water. There's something else. But you started off, you would like add an apple or something to give it a little bit of sweetness. And
Uh-huh.
then after like 2 or 3 weeks, your body got used to that. Well, then you took the apple out and you just had, man, that first time I did it without the apple, I was like, can I do this? I just don't know. Well, it really wasn't that bad. It was all in my head that I made it sound so bad, it feels so bad or tastes so bad, but it really wasn't that bad. And you're right, I was feeling better. But what was really funny was I figured I would feel full till lunch and I would get hungry early, which was really crazy. But I felt so much better because I was basically eating a salad in a glass.
Yeah.
And it was so much easier to eat that big salad because I mean I was getting wads of spinach and putting in, and I was getting a big salad in a glass liquid that I didn't have to chew. My jaws get to hurting after eating that much salad. So I was getting a whole lot more benefit out of that drink than I was. And it wasn't juiced, it really was all of it because I just put it in a blender with all of it. So I didn't really get to juice it. It just mainly made a frosty out of it, a slush out of it, or whatever you want to call it. But
So
but you're
funny.
right. It's when you change your perception of it and what it's doing for your body, it
Well, and this is not nutritionally sound, although it was at the time. When I had gastric bypass, one of the things I was going to have to do was have protein shakes, and I was going to need to do that really for the rest of my life. And every time they would give me one, I was given this and I was holding. I was terrible.
well, some of those were pretty bad back then
Well,
too.
they really were. And they're like, oh, we're really concerned about you. I'm like, I'm gonna do it, but I don't have to like it, you know. And it's so funny because I've realized over time that when your body has gotten so used to trying to put up with the crap that you're eating and drinking, it's doing its best to say, oh, okay, all right, all right. And it sort of kills off your taste buds and everything else. And what I found when I actually started holistically eating better,
Yeah,
even though my mind was like, I I don't want this, my body was like, oh, hmm, what was that? What was that goodness? Let me have some more of that.
right.
And being able to learn to really tune in to what is my body actually saying to me, if I tell my mind to go take a nap so I can actually listen to my body, what's
Yes,
really happening.
yes,
Because
yes,
that mind will lie to you,
yes.
tell you some ugly, awful things.
Well, that's like even with intuitive eating. At first, your body's like, "What's that? How do I do that? Is that really what I want?" And then finally, you actually start listening to what it's trying to tell you because it starts off as a little whisper, right?
Yeah.
And then it finally gets louder and louder. When you're paying attention to it, you put your focus on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right. I'm with you. That is the most amazing thing in the world when you really listen to your body, because our body speaks to us all the time, right?
It does. It so does.
It's
Yeah.
really funny because for a while I was having some shoulder issues. And I mean, my shoulder was hurt. I couldn't lift my arm. I could go forward, but I couldn't go up.
Hmm.
It was weird. And so I just started going, okay, shoulder, tell me what's going on. What is it? What are you trying to tell me? And it would be really, really intensely hurting. And I would just talk to it for a few minutes and just kind of rub it. And after a few minutes, it was like, you paid attention to me, now I can go.
Hmm. I broke my the
I
head of
remember you
my
did.
shoulder in
Yeah.
2020. And when you're over 50 and you break a bone like that, that is no easy thing. And
Right.
I literally, I'm not advocating for this. However, I literally sat with it for a week before I went and got medical attention because I was
Oh,
like, okay, what do you need me to know? What do you need me to know? And I realized if my body was going to need to go through a break, something was trying to get my attention because right after that, too, I ended up with an abscessed tooth,
oh,
same side. So, and I've talked and done some conversations around energy
mhm,
too. Masculine energy is on the right side of your body, feminine energy on the left side of the body. And so, one of the things that I wanted to do was find out, okay, what am I still holding on to? And I've got a break here, and now I've got a break here because I ended up having to lose a tooth. And I was like, okay, this is something. And I realized I'd been carrying so much that I did not want, that was no longer mine to carry. And I still wasn't getting a clue. Right. And so I'd been carrying all of this in my body, and my body had to break open in order to release what I was still trying to hold on to. Now, that's a painful way to go, but luckily, I knew what was happening with my body. And sometimes, even as much healing as I've done, back in the day, I used to say you'd almost have to hit me over the head with a frying pan to get my attention. And sometimes, no matter how much we do, sometimes we can still miss what our body has been trying to tell us because we are so caught up in the busy, so caught up
right.
in helping other people, so caught up in not listening to our own needs that sometimes the body has to go, well, or the universe, God, spirit, whatever says, you know what, it's time to sit your ass down. You need to listen. Okay. All right. And so, that's just kind of how it works in my world. Oh, goodness. Well, I guess we're about to come at the end of our time. Is there anything that you would like to say to kind of close out our conversation today? It's been so great
It
chatting with you.
has been. It's been so long. We need to do this more often for one thing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of valuable things have come up today, and I love that we're doing so many of the things alike in different ways.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
just it rounds everything out so beautifully, and because life is about enjoying and loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And
Yes,
if we don't take care of ourselves, who else is?
that's
You know?
it. We're the ones with us from the moment of birth till the last breath we take and whatever goes on beyond that. So it's time to learn to be good to yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. Self-care is very important.
it is.
And
Well,
self-love.
yes. Well, stay with me just a minute, Georgia. So, for those of you watching, thank you so much for watching the Holistic Pathway and my conversation today with Georgia. I hope you enjoyed us, and there will be information on how to reach either one of us in the description. Please watch every Saturday as I upload a new conversation of unscripted conversations on holistic mind, body, spirit, and entrepreneurship. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.